because there was some news about an animated Batman Beyond movie that came out, and I'll put up some images when Comic Cuts talks about as well. So this is what was said before we pitched. They warned us there is absolutely no way we can do a Beyond movie, but they loved our enthusiasm. We pitched the outline for the entire film, and what started as a never turned into a maybe. So I'll let you give the backstory
So
and take it on home.
I spotted this today when it was trending on Twitter. I think it went to like it was number 2, maybe even number 1 at one point, but it was within the top 5 for a good portion of the day. And I think that there's two things are true. Number one, everyone wants to see the Spider-Verse style of animated movies happen to other characters. Number two, I think everyone's wanted to see Batman Beyond in some form or another outside of the original animated series on Cartoon Network from the late 90s, early 2000s, and comic books. Because, Batman Beyond originated as a Cartoon Network animated series that was targeted for children. And, that's how the character was born. And since then, he's really only been in comic books. And I mean, they have like one spin-off short animated movie. But this art just looks insane. And immediately it put myself and presumably everyone else in the world of what it could look like to have a Batman Beyond movie in the style of the Spider-Verse movies. And everyone lost their minds at these 3 images that you're looking at now. Of course, there were a lot of people that were like, of course, Warner Brothers fumbled the bag. Like, first of all, an idea was presented to them and they originally said no, and then they said maybe. So they technically, number one, didn't fumble it, and their interest peaked from seeing the images. I'm sure there are many who are, well, yeah, they should have greenlit it right away. Things are a little more complicated. But the good thing is that James Gunn is now the head of the DCU. And after today, he 100% is aware of this movie pitch going around, or not going around, but you know what I'm saying.
I think that this number one, this is fire. Number one.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. I mean, the freaking art is just drop dead amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
And the reality is this: this guy, he is contracted to do a lot more Spider-Man animated movies. We're going to talk about that later on in our news, but he is contracted to do a lot more Spider-Man films. And he is working on the next 2 to 4 Spider-Man films as well with the Spider-Verse. So I mean, it would have been a while before this even got off the ground. That was probably in discussion. Also, I promise you, after his contract is up, if Sony doesn't pay up, someone's going to pay him a lot of money to do this and to do this type of animation somewhere else. Whether that's Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or whatever that is, someone's going to pay him to do this. Also, the biggest, and this might be a different perspective. I think this would have been the worst decision for the DCU. I think this would have been the worst decision for the DCU because, I mean, let's just be real. This movie would have been massively successful. And because of that, it would have probably pushed the execs at Warner Bros. To push James Gunn to make this a part of his actual universe. And I think that's probably not the best option right now for James Gunn. And to be honest, guys, I think James Gunn needs to take this time to rebuild the DCU live action, and making a project like this would throw the DCU off track. I'm not just being honest, because what's going to happen is this movie is going to be super fire, and then people are going to want this in live action, and the execs are going to push for it. Imagine if Disney made that Spider-Verse film. You and I both know that Miles Morales would have already been in the MCU already.
And No Way Home would have been a completely different story.
Yes, and that might have ruined what would have happened, what is happening right now with the Spider-Verse movies. So that is my fear, because when you get movies like this that do very well in animation, when you're looking at the mind of execs, right? All the execs look at is money and customer feedback. And if all of their customers are saying we want Batman Beyond, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to try to push James Gunn to put Batman Beyond, and James Gunn will probably quit.
Yeah. And listen, not everything has to be a part of the shared universe. I'm happy that they're not putting the Joker movies into the shared universe, because we know that would be a nightmare. And I would be more than happy to get a Batman Beyond standalone animated movie, and if it's successful, make it a trilogy. Would be that. And by the way, you know what they could do if they do that? If it's successful, they do a trilogy. And then by that point, you're 3 Batman movies deep. You're 3 Batman Beyond movies deep. They exist in separate universes, and both IPs are running successfully. Then you could do a multiverse movie and cross it over.
I also think that like you're also abusing your Batman, because we already have the Batman with Robert Pattinson. Then we're getting another, Batman movie with the Bat family, and then not to mention all these characters are going to go into the animated universe as well. So I mean, it's just a lot of Batman going on. And look, fans aren't going to get tired of it, obviously. But if I'm the distributor, this is my opinion. This can wait 5 to 10 years. Not going to lie. Let the DC run its course. Let the DCU do its thing, and then you can add a Batman Beyond or whoever and try to build up your animation. And not to say that they're not going to build it up, because James Gunn said everything's going to be interconnected, but let the futuristic stuff come in the future. It sounds amazing to have a Batman Beyond film, but you also got to take a look at the roles of the studio and where the universe is at, and where it's at right now. I'm telling you guys, Batman Beyond would be really bad for the DCU at the moment. Trust.
The number one priority is the DCU.